So, first of all, I thought I'd introduce myself. So my name's James. I am primarily a cellist, and that's a photo of me on the X Factor, which is probably a really arrogant way to start a presentation. But it was a very fun gig, and there's me and Simon Cowell in the same picture. I've got a lot of stories to tell you about that day. It was really weird. But anyway, primarily, I'm a cellist. I'm also a pianist, so that's me playing a tiny ceilidh band in the corner of a living room. I'm a singer, and I was once in a barbershop group. Going to move on very quickly. And I also, I play the bass and the guitar. And I guess, the sort of summary of all of that is that I've been a musician my entire life. And when I say my entire life, I do mean my entire life. That's me screaming at a piano, playing a sophisticated chord. It looks like I just hit my hand down on the keys, but I'm sure at the age of about 4, I was well into my first conversion D minor chords. So, why did we start Encore? Essentially, I've been a musician my entire life. I nearly went to music college, and instead went to university and studied computer science, but loads of my friends went to music college. So I was at a music school as a teenager, which meant that most of the people I knew went to music college. And as I was studying computer science, I would catch up with them and they would just tell me how difficult it was to be a professional musician, like let alone the practice and sort of getting good at your craft and at your instrument. Actually making a career out of this is really difficult. And so some of the problems they would tell me about, obviously finding gigs, like finding people who want to book you. Once you've solved that problem, you want to find well-paid gigs with decent fees. You don't want to spend that much time sending invoices and dealing with contracts and filling out supplier forms. Really, like everyone becomes a professional musician because they want to make music. They don't become a professional musician so that they can send lots of invoices. So people were spending way too much time doing admin. People wouldn't get paid. I heard stories of people waiting like 3 months to get paid after a gig and chasing up payments. And then there were sometimes difficult customers who would sort of refuse to pay or would ask for a refund afterwards, and people who wanted to make music were ending up sort of doing customer support. And so we thought, let's just build a modern platform, let's build an online platform using all the skills that we picked up in our computer science degrees, and let's connect professional musicians with people who want to book them, and let's solve a lot of those problems. So we take care of marketing, so we bring in thousands of new customers every month. We handle payment using Encore Pay. We take care of the sort of terms and conditions, and if there's a cancellation, we'll help resolve that and make sure that you get your money. We do sales, and we offer live chat to customers, and we ask for reviews afterwards. So we sort of chase up people after they've booked you and ask them to write a nice review. And in return, we ask musicians to sort of fill out a good profile, to reply to the inquiries and messages that come in, and basically to go out and just make fantastic music and perform incredible gigs. So the very, very brief history of Encore is that I met James King in 2014, who is also a musician. He's a pianist, a guitarist, and a drummer, and he studied computer science at university. The difference between us is that James did really well at university, and I didn't do badly, but James did very well at university, and so he became CTO, which is Chief Technology Officer, basically from day one, looking after all of the tech and the website, and I dealt with everything else. And now I'm not allowed to write any code anymore. I've been sort of locked out. But that's another story for another day. So a year later, we basically spent a year sort of building the website and recruiting musicians, and we weren't actually sort of closing any bookings in the first year. We were just building this platform and recruiting musicians, so we didn't make any money. And so we raised investment from some private investors to sort of take Encore nationwide. And one funny story is that I put my bedroom on Airbnb and rented it out to strangers, and then slept on a mattress on my flatmate's bedroom floor just to make a bit more money until we raised investment. So we sort of like did crazy things to make sure that Encore was a success and to get it off the ground. And that's one example of either stupidity or a stroke of genius. But regardless, we wouldn't be here now if that hadn't happened. So yeah, the first few years of Encore were a bit ropey, but now we're a team of 9 people. Here's our lovely team. We've got 25,000 people registered to Encore, and there are 15,000 groups signed up to Encore. We've got Encore Pay, which is processing millions of pounds of bookings. We've recently launched something called Encore Pay Plus, which lets you use Encore to process payments online with your customers. And we've built apps. So we've got an app on Android, we've got an iPhone app, and we've obviously got the website, which I'm sure you've all seen as well. So, what have we been working on recently? First things first, we launched some new profiles. I think it was on the 1st of February. We launched these brand new profiles to our customers. We wanted to make it easier for them to browse all of the information that you've added to your profile. We wanted to make it easier for them to make inquiries, and obviously easier to book you. We wanted to make them nicer to look at. We wanted to emphasize your videos, we wanted to emphasize your photos, and we wanted to make your prices clearer as well. So I thought very quickly I would just show you some of the profiles we've come across since launching them in February that we think just look really, really good and some sort of inspiration. So this is Vlad, who's a saxophonist. We've got Kat Delphi here with a photo of her at grand piano. Matthew, who I believe actually created this photo specifically for Encore, so he sort of looked at the new design of the profiles and realised that if you put a pattern here behind his name and a photo here, it would look really good. So this is Matthew. This is Gail, who's in the audience this evening. This is a fantastic profile picture. We've got Jamie, who's sort of looking at his name, which I think is really smart. And this one from Amy, which is like a stunning sort of beach photo on her Encore profile. So what you might notice here is that all these profiles had really good cover photos, and they all had high resolution cover photos. And now that we've got this new profile design, it's really important that you have a high resolution cover photo, because that is the first thing that a customer sees when they look at your profile. We've actually secured discounted photo shoots with different photographers around London and around the UK. So if you go to that link, which is encoremusicians.com/resources, and you can find that when you log into your profile, you'll find discounts on various photographers and photo shoots that make it a bit cheaper and a bit easier to get these photos taken. We added frequently asked questions to profiles as well. Customers just keep asking the same questions over and over again. I can tell you that after booking musicians for 5 years. The questions are, how long do you take to set up? Can you learn new songs? They ask the same questions, and we wanted to give them the answers on profiles. So if you fill out these FAQs on your profile, it just helps customers learn more about you, and it helps them come to a decision sooner on who they want to book. And this is an example from Phil Short's profile, where he's not written reams and reams, but he's written like a decent paragraph for every single question. And as it happens, Phil is one of the most booked singing guitarists on Encore. And a lot of his reviews just mention how helpful he is and how easy to communicate he was. And I think his FAQs sort of prove that. He's just answered these questions really well. And as a customer, if I'm thinking about booking him, this is all really helpful information for me to look at before I book. We launched a new app. We host this event every sort of 2 months now, every 2 or 3 months. And last year, there was a bit of a theme emerging every time we said, how can we make Encore better? And everyone said, just fix the app, just make it work. And now it works, and it's really fast, and it works better than ever. really, the app is just like the simplest way to sort of deal with customers when you're out and about. The key difference between like musicians and other types of freelancer or people with a sort of 9-to-5 job is that you are always on the go. You're going to the studio, then you're going to rehearsals, and then you've got like 3 gigs in a week, and you're not always at your computer. So we built this app to make it really easy for you to respond to inquiries and to reply to customers as quickly as possible when they ask you questions. This is an interesting one. So up until 2018, pretty much all of our inquiries were jobs or sort of general inquiries, and you're probably all familiar with this. A customer comes to Encore and they create an inquiry where they say, I'm looking for a singing guitarist to play at an event on the 29th of April, who's available? And so you get a notification, and if you're available, you can reply and say, hi, I'm available, here's my price, and here's my profile. And until 2018, 90% of our inquiries were in that format. However, recently we've started making some changes and we've introduced direct inquiries. And direct inquiry basically is where a customer has seen your profile specifically. So they're not sort of making a blind request and saying who's free, but they're actually browsing the directory, they've seen your profile, they really like what they see, and now they're asking you specifically if you're available and how much you would charge. And it used to be 10% of inquiries were direct inquiries, but now it's actually 1 in 4 because we've been showing customers the search page more often. Because a lot of our customers really like the search page and they really enjoy browsing all of the musicians on Encore. So this is an example of what search looks like, and there are some familiar faces here. You might recognize yourself in this animated GIF. A customer can sort of say, I'm looking for a string quartet. They can say, I want a string quartet in London. They can say, I'm looking to spend, roughly £800 to £1,500, and then it will sort of narrow down the options, and they can browse and look at everyone's profile. And if you've ever used Airbnb or eBay or basically any shopping website online, this is a very sort of familiar pattern. But this is something that our customers are really enjoying using. Like, they're really enjoying sort of looking at the photos and watching the videos and reading the reviews. And so more and more of them are now making direct inquiries rather than just making general inquiries or jobs. We have been doing a lot of work on our Google rankings as well. Basically, Google uses a lot of different factors to decide who comes sort of position 1, who appears at the top of a search. And we've sort of done some research into this, and we've been making our website easier for Google to find. And ultimately, the higher up we appear in search, the more inquiries we'll get for you as musicians, and the more customers will come to Encore. So we've been working really, really hard on this. It's a bit of a sort of dark art, but we do have some witches and wizards on the Encore team. And what that means now is that if you do a search, for example, for a hire a violinist in London, we've actually managed to secure this space here, which is a sort of featured Encore space, and we're appearing in the number 2 position. So for any customer who's looking for a violinist in London, they will see Encore before they see any other platform or any other agency. Which is good news for all of you, because it means that more and more customers are now coming to Encore to make inquiries rather than going to other places. This is something that we're really excited about. This is a small one, but we've now started offering live chat to our customers on Saturdays. A lot of our customers, I'd say the majority of our customers are booking for weddings or private events. They're booking for their personal life. There's a segment of customers who are booking for corporate events and as part of their work or their job, but generally people are booking for an event in their personal life, like a wedding or a birthday, which means they're at work from 9 till 5, Monday to Friday, and they're dealing with their inquiry at the weekends. And now we have a member of the team sort of online on a Saturday, so that when people have questions for us about how do I pay my deposit, or how does your cancellation policy work, we have someone who's ready to answer those questions. And this means that while most of you, I'm sure, are out gigging on Saturdays, we can help secure more bookings for you in the background. And finally, we've recently teamed up with Help Musicians UK, who are a charity who help musicians in the UK. I love how sort of self-explanatory the name is. And they do a lot of amazing things for musicians. And if you haven't sort of heard about them, I would really recommend that you look into them. They will put money towards hearing tests and sort of figuring out ways to prevent you from suffering hearing loss as a musician, which is a real problem. If you injure yourself, they can give you money whilst you sort of recover and you're out of work. They do so much, and we're really pleased to be raising money for them as one of their partners now. This is a really funny picture of me and Johnny dressed up as Santa Claus at the London Santa Run back in December, and we were raising money for Help Musicians. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm most proud of that we've done in the last few months. So that's what we've done, that's the past. Now let's talk about the future. What is changing at Encore? What can you expect to see over the next few months? So, something we've been thinking about and sort of scheming about for a long time is instant bookings. And to be very honest, what we want to build ultimately is a piece of technology, a platform that gets you booked for as many gigs as possible with as little effort from you as possible. And we love this idea in the future that you'll wake up and you've been booked for a gig without having to do anything. And that sounds a bit crazy, but we are sort of getting there. And so I can elaborate on what I mean by this. Basically, the system at the moment sends you an inquiry and says, are you available on 10th of June? Because we don't know if you're available. So you get an email or you get a notification in the app and it says, are you available on the 10th of June? And for many of you, you can reply to those inquiries in about 5 minutes, and we're always really impressed when people reply in about 5 minutes. I think Lilac holds the Encore record for fastest response, which is like 39 seconds or something. But on average, it maybe takes a few hours for a customer to hear back from you. And nowadays, when people are buying things online, and when they're sort of looking for musicians, they actually want to know sort of right now who's available and how much they cost. They don't really want to wait for things. And so instead of replying to inquiries, we've thought about calendar and having a live calendar. And so what we're thinking is that you might fill out this calendar maybe once a week. A customer then goes to that search page and says, I'm looking for a musician on the 10th of June, and they immediately see every musician who's still available on the 10th of June. And then they look at your profile and you've got your prices listed out on your profile, and they think, okay, I'm looking for a guitarist and I've got a budget of £350 and I know that Joe is available and he costs £320. So they actually, we hope, would then just book you straight away because they've got everything they need to make a booking with you. So this is quite a radical idea and it's not easy, but this is what we're sort of working towards. Ultimately, we want to give you as much time as possible to practice and make music, and we don't want you spending hours and hours sort of replying to inquiries. So what we're hoping to do in the future is have this notion of instant availability and instant bookings, a bit like Airbnb, if you've ever used Airbnb. We've been building relationships with a lot of different companies around London and around the UK, different events agencies and corporate event planners all over the UK. And what that basically means is you can expect to see more sort of corporate event inquiries coming through. So conferences and awards ceremonies and summer parties and Christmas parties and product launches and things like that. And these are really exciting gigs because they're often on quite a big scale, and they often pay very well, and you often get to meet very exciting people. So this is something that we've been doing over the last few months, and you can expect to see more of these types of bookings coming through over the next few months. Here's another crazy idea. We're thinking about Instagram and how to show your Instagram photos and videos on your profile. For a lot of musicians, I'm sure for a lot of you, Instagram is where you post photos and videos every weekend of the gigs that you're playing. And our customers find this really helpful. They'll often say, I was looking at the Encore profile, and then I had a quick glance at Instagram and saw these videos, and that convinced me that I wanted to book them. And what's different about Instagram is it's sort of, yes, there's lots of filters, but it's often unedited, and it's often sort of real life footage of the gig, which is what customers want to see. They want to see you playing to a real crowd rather than sort of playing in the studio. So Instagram is a big opportunity, and we are thinking about sort of embedding your Instagram profile on your Encore profile. So this is just a mock-up, and this isn't real, but this is a guy called Russell Parsons, and we're imagining that actually a customer can sort of browse through his Instagram photos and videos on his Encore profile. And all the technology sort of exists and is ready for us to do this. It's just not something we've built yet. But for you as musicians, it means you can upload to Instagram every weekend, and that will automatically go onto your Encore profile, which sort of strengthens your Encore profile. And for customers, it means that they get to see like recent real-world examples of your bookings and of your gigs, and so it's a sort of win-win for both parties. So that's another thing that we're thinking about. So, we've done the past, we've done the future, let's talk about the present. How can you get the most out of Encore right now? I imagine most of you are here because you're looking to get more bookings, you're looking to improve your Encore profile. So we put together a few tips and tricks and sort of inside information on how to get the most out of Encore. Basically boils down to three things. One, having really good media. So really good videos and nicely shot photos. Number two is making sure that you've filled out your profile with as much information as possible. And number three, I realise this sounds a little bit blunt, but basically really understanding how Encore works and sort of understanding some of the features that maybe aren't so obvious but that are really helpful. So I'll go into these quickly. First things first, media. Basically, most customers we talk to say that the video is one of the biggest factors in their decision, and everything else sort of supports the video. And it's the first thing they'll look at, it's the first thing they'll show their partner if they're getting married, but what they see in that video will sort of make or break the booking. And what they keep telling us is they want to see as many videos as possible. So they want to see you playing live, maybe they want to see you sort of playing different songs or different styles of music. And if you're a band, they want to see different lineups. So if you're a 5-piece band, but you can add a brass section and go up to 8 people, they want to see that video of the brass section, because they might not, book you with a brass section if they've never seen a video of the brass section. So they basically keep telling us we want more videos. So just like the photos, we've actually partnered up with some sort of filming companies who specialise in promo videos for musicians, and there are some really good discounts that you can get at the same page, the resources page, and I would highly, highly recommend that. We've had musicians on the platform who, I think there was an example of a guy called Joey who signed up maybe 18 months ago, and about 6 months ago he got a really nice video done, he added 2 or 3 new clips to his profile, and he just started getting bookings, and he said it was like night and day, because he had a full profile, he had good photos, but he just changed the videos and invested in that, and he said that made a world of difference. So that is sort of number one recommendation. Also photos. So the profile picture that you have is like the very first impression that someone has of you when they are sort of looking at a search page or they're comparing their quotes. And then when they click your profile, the next thing they see is your cover photo. And so it's really important that both of these images are of a high resolution, so they don't look blurry or grainy. And they're quite vivid, you want them to sort of stand out a little bit. And just before we move on, something that a lot of musicians have said and that we understand is that there are musicians out there who aren't very good, and they have amazing videos and they get booked, but they're not very talented. And that's really frustrating. And ideally, in an ideal world, the most talented people would have the most bookings. unfortunately, in the world we live in, customers booking music for the first time aren't very experienced and don't know a lot about music. And so they are impressed by a well-shot video, and they do make decisions based on how professional the video looks and how polished it is. And so that is frustrating. As musicians, we want to believe that the most talented people will get the most gigs. The reality we've seen is that the people with the most polished, sort of well-marketed profiles tend to get more bookings because customers feel safer booking them. So that's just a side note. Like, we know it's frustrating, but it's kind of the reality that we live in. Okay, number 2, just filling out your Encore profile and filling out all of the sections. Basically, when we launched these new profiles in February, we designed them entirely based on customer feedback. So we talk to hundreds of customers every week. We have an enormous spreadsheet with rows and rows and rows of feedback, categorized and labeled. And when we designed these new profiles, we designed them based on what customers were telling us. So every section on your profile exists because customers have asked to see that information. They want to see your song list, they want to see photos of you, they want to see videos of you, they've got the same questions about setup time, etc., etc. So, I'll go through a few things that you might want to fill out. As I've talked about, FAQs, your frequently asked questions, basically helps customers understand what you do, and it helps them understand how you're different from everyone else in your category. And there are thousands of people at Encore who've filled out their FAQs already. So it's pretty important to complete those if you want to sort of be competitive and compete against other people in your category. Verified external reviews. There's a piece of research, I can't remember the source, this is from one of my presentations last year, but on average, customers want to see at least 7 reviews of you before feeling comfortable booking you. And we basically came up with this idea of verified external reviews. So we know that you do lots and lots of bookings outside of Encore and you get lots of great feedback. And we want to help you put that on your Encore profile. And so a verified external review is basically a piece of feedback that a customer gave you for a gig that they booked you outside of Encore. And we just ask you to send them a short email that sort of proves that it's real. And this lets a new musician who signs up this morning add 10 verified, like real reviews to their profile before they've had any Encore bookings. And it's only possible to add these by adding the email address of a real customer. So we're very careful that these are real and sort of verifiable. But they make a really big difference. Basically, behind the scenes, everyone has like an Encore score, like a sort of calculated number based on how many bookings you've had and how many reviews you've had, and our algorithm uses that score to decide who appears at the top of search. So the more reviews you have, the higher your score. The higher your score, the higher you will appear in search, and the higher you appear in search, the more customers will see you, and the more inquiries you'll get, and the more bookings you'll get. It's really easy to add them. If you go to your dashboard, there's a tile there that says add reviews from other booking sources, and it takes about 30 seconds to fill that out. Something else we added, I'm nearly finished, I promise, price guides. So basically understanding for customers of how much you actually cost. If you go to Amazon or eBay and you're looking at different products and you're thinking about buying something, all the prices are very clearly laid out. If you're booking a musician, you often have to sort of inquire to get a price, or you don't really know how much it costs until you reach out and ask them. And for some customers, that's quite off-putting. They've said, I want to know up front how much musicians cost. One of the benefits of having price guides is it lets you upsell additional services. So for example, if you're a band, you can show, this is our price for a 5-piece band, but actually you can have 6 of us or 7 of us. You can let them know that you offer a DJ service. You can let them know that for £50 you will arrange a brand new song for them. So it lets you earn more money. And just to show you what it looks like, again, this is Phil Short, one of our most booked artists. And he has said, just in very sort of clear terms, I cost £180 for a short performance, so a 50-minute performance, like a proposal. 250 for an hour, 300 for 2 hours, and 375 for up to 3 hours. And so straight away a customer just knows how much he's going to cost before they even contact him. We also have a notion of packages. So he's put together popular requests that people ask him for. So he said, I can play at your ceremony, that will cost 375. I can play at your drinks reception, that will also cost 375. Or I can do the ceremony and the reception and the dinner for £625. And that just makes it really clear and obvious for customers what they're going to pay if they book him. That's the wrong heading. That should say, understand how Encore works. And this is the final section of the presentation. So there's a few different features on Encore that sometimes musicians tell us aren't very clear. So I thought I'd just explain them very briefly for those who are slightly unsure. A call request, in a nutshell, is a customer who is talking to you and requests a phone call with you. And they click a button that says, request a call, and we say, when do you want to talk to the musician? And they say, I would like to talk to the musician tomorrow between 12 and 1 p.m. At this point, you'll get an email saying, Joe Boggs wants to speak to you tomorrow morning, please call them between 12 and 1. Unfortunately, some musicians just don't make that phone call, which isn't very helpful. But essentially, when you get this email, you'll get their phone number, you'll get a time to call them, and we just expect you to give them a ring, have a chat, talk through any questions they have, and then complete the booking on Encore. You'd be surprised how many of these call requests and sort of scheduled calls don't actually happen. And usually someone uses this feature because they really want to book you, and they just want to ask 1 or 2 questions before they pay the deposit, but the calls often don't happen. So if you get a call request, this is what should happen. Number 2, this is a sort of, I wouldn't say a secret feature, but it's not extremely obvious. If you're talking to a client and you've had like 10 or 15 messages with them and you know that they're ready to book you, they've said, I want to pay the deposit, how do I pay? There is a button, a sort of booking nudge you can send them, which just gives them an email explaining exactly what they need to do, and it shows them where to click and what to pay and how it works. And some of our top musicians are using that feature every few days, and when they send the nudge, the customer usually books the same day or the next day. So if you ever have a customer who sort of has said to you, yep, I want to book, but they haven't paid the deposit yet, use a booking nudge and it will just explain to them what they should do. Finally, sometimes you're talking to someone and say you've quoted for 2 hours, and then they come back and they say, actually, I really want you to play for 3 hours. And so obviously your price goes up. And a lot of musicians get to that point and they get stuck. And they'll maybe sort of email us and they'll say, I need to change my price, I'm not sure what to do. If you go into your dashboard and look for that application, there's a button that lets you change the price. And when you change the price, the customer gets an email saying, Joe just changed his price from 250 to £300. And again, you'd be surprised how many people don't know this exists, and that's probably our fault for not making it clear. But if you ever get to that point and your price needs to change, you can change it yourself. Oh, I've got more slides that I forgot about. Customers really enjoy fast messages, so getting back to an inquiry 39 seconds after it's published. Customers are really happy with that. And if you have the app, even if you're busy, even if you can't give like a really long reply, just saying to someone, you know, I'm in a rehearsal, but I'll get back to you this evening, is so much better than sort of waiting until the evening and then sending them a long message. Like the speed of the response is pretty important in sort of securing these bookings. So that's a whistle-stop tour of Encore, past, present, and future. Obviously, if you have any ideas at all for how we can make the site better, please come and talk to one of these people. Ilkin isn't here, so I wouldn't look too hard for him, and Joel isn't here either. But everyone else is here, so come and chat to us, give us your ideas, tell us what's bad, what's good. Really, like, we want you to get booked as often as possible, and so if you have ideas, please do tell us how we can make the site better. And that is now the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for listening.